Hi, this is Erin from Blossy Bee. Welcome to my channel. The plan for this video is to use some highly detailed moulds to create resin coasters. I'm going to try some different techniques to highlight features of the moulds, but spoiler alert, mistakes were made, lessons were learnt. Thank goodness for leftover resin extras. I've got these three coasters here. They were marked as a floral mandala pattern and they have a really pretty edge and lots of detail in them. So what I'm going to do is put in some Just Resin's Pixie Magic into some clear resin. This is River Art Resin Deep Pour. And I'm just going to put a thin coating over the top of each of the coasters, or the bottom at the moment, isn't it? And I'm going to just let that gently creep into all the little nooks and crannies and make sure it reaches the edge. And then with the leftovers, I'm going to just use a sort of a random mould I had, which is a rose petal mould. It's a sort of soft floppy mould that I don't think I've ever really successfully made. So in hindsight, I'm wishing I hadn't chosen it, but there you go. After these have cured, I'm ready to do the next layer, and I want to make these three very different colours and very bright, and so for that I'm using these Just Resin Luster pigment pastes, and I'm going to mix up a small amount in each of the little 3 cups and then fill the coasters to the brim, and hopefully they'll look really pretty. I do go ahead and add a little bit of the Pixie Magic to the yellow colour, as that is not as shimmery as the other 2 colours. I'll put above each of the colours that I've used, and obviously links to everything I can in the description box below. So time to pour the resin in over that mostly clear, just with a little bit of Pixie Magic layer, and I'm really loving these colours. They look very jewel-like, super pretty. I realised very quickly I've made way too much, which is okay because I've got the rose that I'm working on, and I also have a good idea for some moulds I want to use the leftovers into. I'm just going to push these to the side and then drizzle a little bit of each of the colours into the rose mould. All the time now doing the voiceover, wishing that I hadn't wasted resin. I'm sorry, I just can't stand it. Anyway, here are these 2 beautiful moulds, the Fractured Heart and the Lotus mould, both of which I've used before and had really good success with. So with all the little leftover pieces, I decide to very carefully add some resin into between the lines. So these moulds I'm really enjoying because they kind of push my fine motor skills, and I have to be very careful and very precise with them. And also, if you're only using 3 colours, you have to be very careful with the placement of the colours too, in both of them actually. And I figure that even though these colours aren't probably the most complementary, although purple and yellow are, aren't they? The green's a little bit odd maybe, but look, I think that they do okay together. They're very jewel-like colours. They do look very bright, like almost gemstones. 24 hours later, those pieces are cured, and I'm ready to start working on the back layer of these mosaic type pieces. And I know from previous experience that the colour that you choose for this is really important because it frames the whole design. So I'm just showing you, gosh, a whole heap of things I'm going to add to this mixture. I'm starting off with some acrylic paint, which is Jo Sonia's, and it's in Nimbus Grey. So I wanted to tint this the palest, sort of prettiest grey, and then I wanted to add in, I think, at least 3 different kinds of glitters. So I'm going to add in some holographic silver glitter, some regular silver glitter, and I'm also going to add in some, it's almost a white, silver white holographic glitter as well. So I've absolutely packed this with a lot of colour, just not so much from a pigment. So I wanted that glitter to really feature and give it an almost, not like a lead outline with stained glass because that's black, but just this really rich silver, glossy, glittery edging. So after I've mixed all of that together, I'm going to just pour it over each of the moulds because they are fully cured now. And I'm going to just make sure that I bring it right up to the top of the mould because I don't want to have to do any more to this after this layer. I want this to be the backing and the final part of it. And I do use the rest of this to fill up the rose mould, and I also use the leftover silver glitter mixture to pour into some little heart and turtle moulds. As I had different pieces curing over different periods of time, it might feel a little confusing, but it is now time to demould just the coasters, and so here we go. And I guess this is where I started feeling very disappointed because as soon as I saw the finished result, I was able to look closely and I realised that the mould itself is very pretty, but there are a lot of areas of it which aren't actually even. And it's a real shame because any little air bubbles, not that there were really many air bubbles, but there just are little pieces of the moulds when I'm looking carefully at them that are not formed correctly. And so you'll see when we move on to the next step that it just doesn't work that well. In so many ways, I wish I just left them like this. They're very subtle without having any of the details highlighted and brought out, but I think that would have been better than what I end up with. Oh dear. Anyway, so these are the floral mandala moulds made with epoxy resin in the 3 different colours. So, of course, now I'm going to attempt to do the highlighting. And look, I did have success previously. Look at this one. It was such a beautiful mould. And what I'm showing you there, I'm comparing how the one on the right, the really glossy new one, that's just such a gorgeous mould, very detailed and very well made. But the others, not so much. I'm using Kaisercraft acrylic paint in black and just a little foam dabber, and I'm going to dab on the acrylic paint. I'm going to do sort of half of the coaster at a time, and then this is the wipe off method. So I'm hoping that I'm going to get the material, the black paint, down into all of the nooks and crannies, and then I'll wipe off. But as soon as I start doing this, I can see it's probably never going to work because of the way that the mould is, and areas that should be not joined or anything. It's hard to explain, but the pattern doesn't make sense when you look at it up close. It hasn't been properly thought out and made, and so there's patches of darker colour, patches of lighter colour, and yeah. Anyway, look, I start to do the yellow one, and I am trying to see if it makes a difference if I go near the edge or over the edge. And yeah, I just feel frustrated watching this back because I spent so much time trying hard to, remove the excess and then wipe it off, but didn't seem to matter what technique I used. There was always the sort of errors in the mould that prevented it from looking right. It just really was so frustrating. So you can see I'm just trying different things all the time, wiping on, wiping off, putting it on again. It just felt like it took forever. Finally, I tried out something. I wish I'd filmed the first go, but using this stamper. This is a Versaclear in black, and I didn't mind that. So the idea with this is that it just would go on the top of it and not press down enough to go into the deeper part. So it's sort of the reverse of the wipe off method. And then I thought, oh gosh, I'd better clean the edges, and then I wasn't sure if that was right, and oh, this just went on for so long. And then because the mould wasn't symmetrical all the way around, I'd see darker bits on one side, and I think, oh, I'd have to restamp it, try and fix that, and then the other side would be too light or too dark. So honestly, I don't feel anything but when I look at this now. I'm just going to fast forward the next what felt like days of playing around with this. At the end of the day, the mould wasn't good quality, it didn't work, and I shouldn't have kept trying. You'll see them again shortly though. On to something a little bit more fun. Okay, it is time to demould the ones that I made with the silver mixture. And these are the little turtles and the roses, and they've come out super cute. And then we move on to the creation who shall not be named. I just don't even want to think about it. I'm showing you, but you can look away at any time. I wouldn't be upset. And then once we've finished gazing at that in horror, we can move on to the two pieces that I am actually proud of. And this is our lotus flower, and it really is striking. The colours are just so vibrant. As I said before, they're like jewels, and I'm loving the silver glitter background. It's exactly what I wanted. So let's have a look at the fractured heart. And apart from that little spot there I've just honed in on, it is beautiful. A little bit of overspill there. I'm just going to remove that with my deburring tool, and it comes off really easily. And look, these two pieces, thank goodness for them, because if it wasn't for these, well, and the little turtles and the roses, oh, this would have been just a horrible, horrible disaster. So at least I got something out of it to show you at the end that I'm very proud of. The coasters, look, I did go on to put a resin top coat on them. I think it just made me hate them even more. By this point, I'd even lost one of them. So if that's not a physical type of a Freudian slip, if there's a term for that, I don't know what is. Anyway, I am so grateful for you spending this time with me. Thank you so much. As always, it's so lovely to see all the amazing comments and suggestions and feedback, and I appreciate everyone who's subscribed. I'm getting so close to my goal of 1,000 subscribers, and It just, every single one, every number that goes up, it just is so exciting. And I'll leave you with a little video of the things I was happy with and proud of from this make. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye for now.